Hi guys, welcome back to another great episode of Heroes Manufactured Live. We're here today with a very special guest, Mr. Jeff Burton. Hey Jeff, how's it going today?
It's going fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Great. I'm just going to do a couple of quick announcements here for our audience. But yeah, guys, thank you for joining us for this episode. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel as always. We do have some new announcements coming up this July. I've mentioned to you guys there is going to be our full series, Heroes Manufactured Creators Unleashed, which will be coming onto Amazon Prime Video. So we have officialized that. It will be released. We're looking right now towards the end of July. We're looking about the week of Comic-Con, which usually takes place around the 22nd, the 25th. So I just wanted to keep you guys updated with that. And we will be having some new guests onto the show. I know you guys know of Joey P, who's doing our Comics Vault, as well as Philip Moran, who's doing the Movie Minutes. So we've got a lot more episodes lined up there. But yeah, guys, we're going to get right into it here with Mr. Jeff Burton. So Jeff, how's it going, man? I know we've been talking back and forth for a while, a little bit about having you on this show, a little bit about what you've been doing with Auroraman, and you've been posting consistently on our group, which I'm so happy to see that you've been part of that quite frequently. So yeah, how's it been?
It's been going really well. First of all, I love the group. I love the idea. The whole movie to begin with, the first one that you guys did was fantastic. I've actually used it a little bit pieces in my classroom and teachings and stuff like that. So
awesome.
That's really cool, and I'm happy to be a part of it. And the page is just another piece where we can help get that exposure out there and get the eyes on what we're doing here. And
you're based out of Saskatchewan, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Wow, you're going to be the first Saskatchewan interview here on this show. So I mean,
hey, right on. I feel honored.
No, for sure, and yeah, I mean, I want to kind of get into what Auroraman's about what Jeff Burton's about, because that's important too. And tell us kind of like how you got into this work, how long you've been doing it for, because you seem to have some history with regards to comics and illustration. I'd love to get a little bit more about that.
Well, I mean, I grew up a comic book fan. Given my age and everything, I was born at the end of the 70s and stuff. So through the 80s, when it was just that amazing time period for so much geek culture stuff that, you know, has set the groundwork for what everything is now. You know, everybody looks at, you know, geek culture and says, well, what's the highlight? Well, it goes back to all that stuff from the 80s. You know, there was the cartoons on TV, there was the serials, the comic books that you could find everywhere, you know, the pharmacies, the gas stations, the corner stores, the grocery stores, you know, they were everywhere. So, I mean, I love reading. I was an avid reader. I loved the whole idea of superheroes and the fantasy world and stuff. So it was just a no-brainer that it was an instant connection.
Oh,
and I collected comics basically all through my childhood into teenagers. My friends were getting out of them. I was buying my friends' collections because they were getting out of comic books and stuff, and because they was, you know, high school, they were too cool for that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And I just kept going. I mean, there was a brief stint when I moved out and after I had graduated high school that I had thought, okay, it's time to stop this kind of stuff. And it lasted, I think, 2 months before I went back to it.
Usually does. But no, that's awesome. I mean, and what kind of books inspired you before we get into what Auroraman's about? Like what books, what characters growing up like really got to you, would you say?
Well, growing up, I mean, I was, you know, there was the Adam West Batman TV show.
Oh, yeah.
There was the 67 Spider-Man cartoon and stuff. I mean, I grew up on that kind of stuff. So just fun superhero kind of things was really my thing.
So you're more of a campy, you like the campy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you betcha. You
Oh,
know,
it
when I
was a fun era, and you know what? It's funny because I was talking about a few weeks ago. We had an episode about the new Batman movie coming out with Philip Moran, our co-host there, and he was saying we are just talking about the good old days when things were just fun and campy and silly in many ways, right? Like having
yeah
they had those Batman like the 66, the dance where he does that like weird. It was hilarious, and I was watching recently a cartoon where. They brought back, the 66 Batman, and you're just like, and I'm right saying 66, right? It's not 67. Yeah. Okay.
yeah 66.
Yeah. But Batman, they even included that in the animated cartoon there, right? So I mean, it's funny to see that, like that they're still bringing back that hype from an old campier fun time that wasn't it's not really seen anymore. It's made fun of a
No,
lot.
not as much.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, it's poked at a lot, but I mean, for me, that's what it was. It was an escape from reality, because reality is especially nowadays. You look at it, reality is pretty grim and it's kind of gritty and stuff. So why do I want my entertainment to be a reflection of what I see every day anyway?
Yeah.
I want my to alleviate that for me and give me a break from that.
No, perfect. And that brings me, like, if you tell us a little bit about Auroraman, how you started with that, like what, like I'm going to go through some of these slides here as well, if you don't mind. So we
Yeah, go right ahead.
kind of get into the bare essentials here. But this is you with Auroraman and kind of what you've done with it. This is issue 0. So is that the first issue for you before 1, or?
Yeah, that was the first one. We were. I kind of got the idea for Auroraman was a collaboration piece. A friend of mine that I met online had kind of come. We share a mutual love for James Robinson and Tony Harris's Starman, and through that we met online, became really good friends, and he kind of gave me this idea for a Saskatchewan-based hero, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. And then I talked to another Canadian creator whose book I was eagerly anticipating coming out, and that was Andrew Lawrence and the Canadian Corps was his book, and it's a team of Canadian superheroes. So I was like, yeah, this is really cool. So I started showing him this Auroraman concept idea and stuff, because it was like, hey, you've got a team of Canadian heroes. Maybe this is somebody that you might want to use in there. And we kind of fleshed the character out. And then he said, okay, I love it. It's fantastic, but I'm not going to put it in my book. I was like, oh, well, okay then. And he said, yeah, no, because you're going to write it. And I'm like, but I don't write comics. I've never written comics. I just read comics. And he just said, no, he said, he said, you're passionate about this. You know this character. This is, he looks like you. He's based in Saskatchewan and stuff.
You've created a ton of these books here. Like, I mean, I'm looking at this. It's since 2016 is really when you kind of got ready with Auroraman, right?
That's right. That's when issue 0 launched, as well as the first 5 mini comics that we did were in 2016. I kind of hit the ground and I just started running with it, and I haven't really let too much slow me down.
Nice. And let me ask you, like, these are variant covers that you've made yourself with others, or like, tell me a little bit about these covers.
Okay, well, these are the covers for all the issues leading up to even up a sneak peek at the cover for the next issue. And I work with an amazing selection of artists from all across Canada. So as the writer, I always get my fingers slapped for saying that I'm just the writer, because for comics as a visual medium, the artist is usually the first piece of recognition point.
Well, I know, even with some of the people that have been on our show, like Sharon Gauthier, she's been part of that. I mean, that's awesome. And I believe Andrew Thomas as well, correct?
Yeah, we've done a little bit of collab work together. Some of the early stuff that Sharon now does most of started off with Andrew doing the art for it. So
nice. And here I see, like, this is part of a community center that got involved with you guys, or it's a historic monument almost to what you guys are doing there?
Well, basically, yeah. A community just about 25 minutes away from where I live. Every December they have a Santa Claus Day. They have this giant Santa Claus statue in their community year round, and it's a big tourist thing. And every December they do Santa Claus Days. So in 2016, actually I think it's 2017, I was mistaken there. We kind of got together and collaborated And we took the Christmas issue that I had done, a mini comic that I had done then, and we turned it into these giant banners that fit in the window of one of their empty storefronts on Main Street.
Nice.
And as the news of that kind of spread, we ended up actually connecting with John Bell, who's a Canadian comic book historian, and he was just like, "Yeah, he's like, I'm pretty sure I can go on record saying this is the largest printed comic book in Canada."
Nice. So when you mean largest printed, like you guys have literally like gone off the bat with printing,
Well,
huge ton, eh?
Those pictures that you're seeing in the slide right now, those are 6 feet tall by 3 feet wide comic book pages.
Wow, that's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And then when I look at like this one here, this is one of your latest covers, right?
This is the newest one here. Yeah.
Nah, that's absolutely amazing. I know you've posted this on our site as well, on our Facebook page there. Absolutely amazing work. I love how there's like little moments of Canada in there. You know, you've got like it's which is nice. I mean, you know, like you there's an attention to detail here that is just amazing, and I love that you're working with all these artists as well. I mean, I see you said Derek Burns you have here, Hugh Rockwood, and Sarah LeBlanc. Is that her name?
Yeah, Sarah LeBlanc. She's actually a 15-year-old artist out of Winnipeg who just kind of approached us with some samples of her work, and I was blown away, and we offered her the opportunity to do a variant cover for us, just to kind of get a piece of published work into her portfolio.
Wow, absolutely amazing work you guys are doing. Like I'm thrilled that there's, you know, a voice in Central Canada, because you know, it's not a lot of people that you hear out there making comics in you know, midway of Canada. Right? It's not a huge. I know that there's a few. I know that there's been like a Calgary Fan Expo. There's been some you know, some shows here and there. What are the biggest shows right now in Saskatchewan? Are there any?
Well, we do have actually two major shows that run in Saskatchewan. There's the Saskatoon Comic Expo, which usually runs in the fall, and then a few years ago, the Fan Expo team set up a show in Regina, which was our province's capital.
Yeah.
That has recently been taken over by a local group of people that were running the Saskatoon show as well. And they're fantastic shows. Like, we've had some big celebrities out. Always draws a good crowd.
Nice
for attendance wise and stuff. And it's just nice to have those home shows, because there actually are a lot of creators out here on the prairies.
Yeah.
And stuff. So it's good that we have some local shows to help support that.
For sure. And I mean, listen, that's how you do it. That's how you get your name out there. And you've obviously been doing this for a while. And you're mentioning, I guess, earlier you were saying that you show the film in your school. You have a class or a school that you teach at from time to time, or?
I'm a full-time teacher. That's my day job.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So I incorporate.
Typically,
I'm high school, so history and health science. I dabble in some of the art classes when I get a chance to, and I incorporate comic books basically into every class that I teach, if I can find avenues in which to do it. There's some amazing historical graphic novels and stuff that I use in my history classes quite a bit, getting to be more and more all the time too. That's an area that's really starting to expand in the graphic novel range, is the historical aspects and stuff, which is fantastic, because I mean, we all know that not everybody is a fan of reading textbooks and stuff like that. So if I can bring a graphic novel that covers the material that I'm teaching, I can hit those people that are a little reluctant to read in a
typical novel.
And they're still getting their content that way.
It's awesome to hear an educator speak like that, because you don't. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't hear educators speaking like that a lot here, at least in Toronto. But I mean,
well, you know what?
It's nice to see that there's a little bit of inspiration, and you're giving kids that kind of inspiration. I mean, I recall back in high school, there was this one teacher that I could really remember, and we had like a really good relationship. Like he would always just allow me to take breaks whenever I want, come back, bring coffee, because he knew that I got the work done, right? He knew that I was inspired when I came into class. It was like a ComTech teacher. It wasn't like anything crazy, but I was a film media student. He saw that I had a passion for it. As long as I got the work done, he treated me more like a friend than like a student. So I mean, and I find that when someone like yourself is able to teach students and teach children and teach teenagers or whatever, how to love something that you're passionate about. I mean, that's just amazing. And so, hats off to you on that. But and so that being said, I mean, this is another really cool few images you got here. Is this all done by you, or who's done the artwork?
No, this artwork here is done by Andrew Ford.
Oh,
and
cool.
he's an artist that grew up in Humboldt. He's a few years younger than I am. We went to the same schools and stuff. And he's gone on to become an animator at Disney.
Oh, wow.
And he, when we did the very first Auroraman Kickstarter, he was one of the first backers that throwed support to it. And he reached out and was like, hey, this is a really cool idea. I love it. Could I do some art for it? So he did the very first image, the green one with the kind of spirity bear in it.
Oh,
was the first one that he did. And he's done these three ones. The purple one on the right with the cave, that's the newest one that he just submitted. And we're using that as all of these are being put on our trade paperbacks.
Wow. So, beautiful work.
Oh, they look absolutely stunning. So the green and the white one are the front and back covers for our first trade paperback, and then the purple one is our brand new trade paperback that is shipping out from Studio Comics today, coming my way in Saskatchewan. So
there you go, Studio Comics. It's funny because Alfonso helps a lot of people, not only in Canada.
Oh, he does.
And people don't realize. I mean, he was in the first film, but he does so much work, and he's worked with Dave Sim, like he's worked with all these names. Like it's crazy to see what he's accomplished in as a small independent press, small independent artist as well. He's done a lot for many people in the industry, and I love the fact that we can showcase that here on Heroes Manufactured as well. There's always that Alfonso connection, which is
really It's going to be that 6 degrees of Alfonso, everybody's going to have it to him somewhere.
I'll have to definitely tell him to watch this episode. He'll definitely laugh at it. But it's literally the 6 degrees of Alfonso. That's what it is.
Yeah, if he's not connected to you, he's connected to somebody that kind of thing.
I mean, he introduced me to Humberto Ramos, which is like, one incredible artist. And you're talking about Disney, and that guy's got like, he feels like Disney, but then he feels like Marvel at the same time, and then he feels like 5 other well-known, recognized artists. So I mean, he's even an inkling of J. Stock Campbell, who's got a lot of Disney in him, and I love seeing that kind of work. That the fact that you're working with guys who are involved with other labels and this and that, but they also work on the independent, and that's what I love about the comic industry, is that you can work with a guy who completely produces his own indie book, and then another few days later he'll be working on like Spider-Man or Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's awesome like that. So I mean, I respect that, and it's amazing the kind of work you're doing. And just to go back to this again, like these images almost like calendar pieces, you know what I mean? Like
they're amazing. They're probably some of my wife's favorite artwork that I have for Auroraman. When we moved into our new house, she kind of designated a spot. She's like, we're gonna get nice black frames, and we're gonna hang some Auroraman art in this area.
They're beautiful.
All 3 of these are hanging in that area because she's just like, she loves Andrew's work so much that it wasn't even a question that those 3 were gonna hang up there.
Yeah, and just a question to you. Like, I feel like the character's kind of modeled off of you. Is that the intention, or?
Yeah, like I said, when I was co-creating Auroraman, Ted, my friend from the States, and then Andrew, the creator here in Canada, they were very insistent that this character, because his alter ego is a teacher, and I'm a teacher and a family man and stuff like that, they were like, no, you know what? We're modeling this character off of you. So I'm like, okay, at first, because I wasn't writing it at the time, I was like, okay, that's cool. We can go with that. Now that I'm the writer, I look back at that sometimes and I'm like, I really hope people don't think I'm super egotistical by making myself the main character.
I didn't get that at all. You know what? I like it because you're you've got a certain character and personality that's likable, and you know what, like it's cool to see that in a comic book. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like you wrote it. It actually doesn't feel like you wrote it yourself. It feels like someone wrote it about you, and you've helped collaborate in on it. but yeah, I could already tell. I mean, and it feels like it's a skew of you. It's not necessarily
Oh yeah,
you, right? So
definitely,
that's,
definitely.
it's fun. Almost Jay and Silent Bobish. Speaking
Little
of a
bit.
few, right? But
Yeah.
but yeah, here's some other work that you've done. And this has to do with, is this part of the newspaper that you're involved with? That I've seen you
Yeah.
on online, right?
Yeah, there's a local publication out here in Humboldt that goes out every 2 weeks, and it's kind of like a little variety publication. They have like local news and advertisements, and then jokes and cartoons and games and stuff. Well, actually, Auroraman's the only cartoon in there, but yeah, they approached me and said, "Hey, can we collaborate on something?" And I've always loved the newspaper comic strips. I grew up, again, that was
Oh
part of
yeah.
that of the 80s. Every newspaper had comic strips, and I used to collect them. I'd cut them out of the newspaper and glue them into notebooks and stuff. So when they approached me, I was just like, yes. I went and I talked to the artist Jason Sylvester out of Regina here, because I knew this would be right up his alley. And I mean, the words were barely out of my fingertips as I typed him the text, and he was just like, yes, let's do it. So yeah, every 2 weeks the Stew releases a new issue, and in there is a new Auroraman comic strip. And some of them are one shots, and some of them are, a few strips strung together. And then we've had a couple ones that were a longer storyline that ran for like 7 or 8 issues and stuff. And it's just done in the newspaper, so 3 or 4 panels, black and white. And then this spring, with the whole pandemic situation, obviously they weren't going to release physical issues of the Stew, so they went to a digital platform. So people can now sign up free for a subscription. They just have to email them and give them their email address, and they'll email them every 2 weeks a brand new issue of the Stew, which will have a brand new Auroraman comic in it every 2 weeks.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I love the fact that I mean, you've got your own book, you're publishing, you're selling. I mean, you told me recently, like, you told me like your book has been so, you made quite a few sales over the pandemic, you mentioned as well, right? With regards to like the release of it.
Yeah. Through issue 7 and just in general, from April 1st from the 11th to the end of the month, we sold just over 130 comic books.
Oh wow!
And I sold out of my remaining stock of issues 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 through all of that, as well as selling copies of issues 6 and 7. So
nice. No, that's awesome. That is definitely awesome. And so that also brings you to this here, that you got an audio comic action, I guess here you call it, but it's fun. It's, I mean, and you got a few different people doing the voices here.
Yeah, I just it was just kind of a neat idea. I'd been actually talking with Mark Shaneblum, the creator of Northgard.
Yeah, who's actually in our first film. A great guy, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So I've been talking with him off and on for the last few years, and he's given me some really good quotes to use for Auroraman stuff, and he really likes the whole concept. And we were talking about radio plays and stuff, because he used to work for the CBC doing radio play work.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, a superhero one would be awesome. And that just kind of like planted the seed. And then I started running with it like I run with all my other stuff. It was just like, oh, let's do this. So the very first episode, which I have a hard time listening to now because it was very amateurish. I didn't know what I was doing as far as sound mixing and stuff like that. So it sounds really rough. But my wife, my son, and I sat down and we recorded the narration, all the character voices, everything like that, and strung it together. And it got a decent response. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. Let's keep going. So I have 2 other episodes that definitely sound more polished now, because I know a bit more what I'm doing and I have better equipment. And I'm just having a blast with it. And
yeah,
I hit people up. I'm like, I think you would be great for this character. How about you want to do a voice for me?
Well, did you talk to Andrew Thomas, because he does some voice work? I don't know if you're.
I was watching that, and I messaged Andrew, and I was like, yeah, you know what, we got to do something here. And
Yeah,
So yeah, we're
he
definitely
does
gonna
like those
we're
crank calls. I mean, my wife and I were listening to like, and we were actually listening to them with the kids because I know Andrew well. I see him. I used to see him over at Gotham Central here in Toronto quite often. Which is actually, I just want to mention this out to the viewers. It's going to be featured in our new show. We have little segments. So one thing I'll give everyone a little bit of a teaser about. We're introducing a lot of indie artists at Gotham Central here in Canada, but also some American ones, guys who work with Marvel, DC as well, and we do it out of a small comic shop in Toronto, which is actually quite well known. It's I think it won an award for one of the best or top selling comic book stores in Canada. So I mean, I know Andrew through there, and since sorry, off topic there. I just
No, it's all
to
good.
plug that in there, guys. But yeah, we feature that while we feature these artists at different while we're touring conventions, we feature them. And Andrew is one of the guys that I consistently see there. Guy's got a great voice. He does these amazing things. I'd highly recommend if you could do an episode or two with him. He would pull it off on the Auroraman audio. A podcast, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. No, he and I talked about that already. We've got something in the works. We'll see where I can.
For sure. And so this kind of brings me over to the last slide here, though, as well. So this is what's this about? Tell me.
Okay, so the Power Records Adventures of Auroraman is something brand new, and I haven't talked to a lot of people about it yet. So this is kind of like a little sneak peek here. It's taking my comic strips that we've done in the stew, and then I learned how to do some coloring, so I've added coloring to them, taking it out of the black and white realm, and then I'm meshing that with the audio comic idea, so recording voices, sound effects, narration, and everything. Excuse me.
Yeah. No, it's quite nice. I mean, the fact that you're thinking about these ideas already out loud. I mean, it's amazing. It seems like something that's just around the corner that looks like it's gonna kick off quite nicely. And
it's gonna show up on YouTube, and you're going to be able to watch the action of the comic frames and have the audio telling you the story. So it's a little bit like the old days where you'd get the comic or the storybook and a record or a cassette tape eventually, and they would tell you the story while you looked at it. Well, the visual will be all right there on YouTube, so you'll see the story happening, but it'll also be read to you, and you'll have voices coming at you.
It's almost like a live action comic in many ways, right? Where you can kind of visually see it with images, but then just have some audio play over it. Correct?
That's the exact idea right there.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I know even like the X-Men and had some videos pop up. I've seen them at the Ramas here in Canada.
Yep.
They have these little. I think they call them Marvel Knight. They worked on the Marvel Knights series. They've done a lot of those, like the Black Panther, the X-Men. Yep. They've done them all, really. I mean, they've had ones for Iron Man as well. Iron Man Extremist, I think, also had like same kind of thing, right? These live action, somewhat animated. I think some of them do them a little bit animated. So I mean, there are some really cool filters and programs out there. You can give it a little bit of life. Might be something you might want to take a look at.
I've actually been looking at some of that stuff for sure.
Yeah, because
give it a little bit
extra
pop.
Exactly. Yeah, and it pops out. It gives you a little bit of a visual. People like to watch it. I mean, I've seen some of them myself. It's like picking up a comic without having to pick it up, right? So it's a different experience. It's funny because I did one years ago for a film actually that before we shot it, and a lot of movies do that. They take their storyboards and they do a very similar thing so that they can visualize what the actual scene is going to be like. And so people like to experience that because it's like comic books are a form of storytelling, just like movies and novels. And the thing is, if you can take those comics, you can literally make them into media, and not just book form media, but I'm talking about like online video type media these days. There's people prefer it sometimes. So I mean, it's a very cool idea. I admire that and respect what you're doing with that. So a couple other questions, I guess I just wanted to kind of get into it. being in as a self-publisher, as an artist, how do you see yourself from others out there in the business trying to break in? Because there's always a pocket. I find that even though you've already broken into one area, there's always more you can expand on, right? Like,
Oh, definitely.
and how do you see yourself, I guess, from the rest? Not necessarily competition, but also just other artists out there that you either collaborate with or are just around you.
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's one of the things, right? You table at shows, or you're in the same area locally and stuff, and it's like, yeah, how do you stack up, and how do you stand up with that? I don't know. I'm just out there to have fun doing this. I'm not looking to revolutionize the indie comic scene with what I'm doing or anything like that. I'm just doing what I think is fun, what I would like to see.
Yeah.
And I've met some fantastic people that do some amazing work in the indie community out here in Saskatchewan, as well as across Canada. And I'm hoping to keep growing Auroraman so that I can I can travel further and travel myself out of Saskatchewan to keep introducing this concept and this idea to people, because the response has been good. I have a fan base in Ontario, and I've never been there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I have to get out there and meet these people and stuff, and get a chance to actually thank them in person for supporting what I'm doing.
Well, I mean, this show will definitely like even expand that for you, because we've got so many Ontario residents here. So I mean, and that are watching the show, and we have a lot of Americans as well, actually. So I'm hoping that we can help you expand that on the Facebook group here on the show. And yeah, I mean, and last kind of question here that I have just for you, just like what can we expect to see from you in the near future, with regards to new stories with Auroraman? Are you planning to do any other character development within the same universe or outside of that universe, or how so?
Well, coming up, I'm currently lettering the main story for our next issue, which would be issue 8. Issue 8 is a bigger sized issue. I've got 4 little stories in it, and then 1 big story. Nice. And those 4 little stories kind of go in between. The big story is told in like 2 chapters. So awesome. It's kind of like issue number 1. I did 64 pages, and it was 8 different stories in there.
Oh wow.
Just kind of like that real big introduction piece to the character. And then I always wanted to go back to, I love having multiple stories in a single issue. Nice. So this one will be my biggest single story. The main story is 37 pages long. Takes place in Drumheller, Alberta, because I love dinosaurs. So it feeds into my childhood obsession with fossils and dinosaurs and stuff like that, and history of the area and everything around Drumheller.
You sound like you're like a true historian. Definitely an Indiana Jones of some sorts, right?
Maybe a little bit in there for sure. I mean, it doesn't hurt that again, those are the movies of my times, right? So,
yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, so we're working on that, and issue number 9 is another big one that's being worked on as well, just kind of concurrently there, as well as, I mean, I've got more audio comics that are just waiting on a couple more things to happen so that I can start putting those together, and the Power Adventures is there. Our comic strips, Jason and I have a whole year's worth done ahead of time, so it's just a matter of submitting them every 2 weeks to the stew.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, and I have Jason has the scripts for the next batch. So once this starts getting a little closer to the number of strips that we have left in advance, then he'll sit down and he'll string out a bunch more in advance again, and we'll be set there. Like, that one's a pretty self-feeding one. It just kind of takes care of itself nicely.
No, that's awesome.
I'm constantly developing characters in the Auroraman universe, whether it be in the main Auroraman story or the Auroraman universe is actually a multiverse. This kind of happened by accident, thanks to Sharon a little bit.
Nice.
But there's other versions of Auroraman. Like, she helped create the Aurora Ronin, which is set in like a feudal Japan type time. And I've got A few other ones. I've got a kind of like a Viking style Aurora Noct, he's called. And
Right.
so I'm introducing not only these versions of Auroraman, but also characters that flesh out their particular corners of the universe and stuff too. So character development is fun. It's great. I love thinking up of, kind of odd and unusual characters or funny twists to stuff. And it's just, I don't know. It's like a sandbox, and I get to have some fun playing in it. And
Yeah, why not? Why not? Well, listen, Jeff, like thanks for coming out today. I appreciate you being part of this show and this episode. We're part of season 2 now. We're only going to be doing more of these. Thanks again for everything. I appreciate
oh, no
that.
problem.
Yeah, and yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in today. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can definitely check us out if you just check out Heroes Manufactured Live. You'll find us on YouTube. Definitely also join our Facebook group if you haven't already. You just look us up. We're Heroes Manufactured. It's a nice pink logo. We might change the name soon a little bit just so we can make it easier for everyone. But yeah, I mean, definitely check us out. There's a bunch of Facebook groups. There's a live channel and there's the Facebook group. So definitely have that. And like I said, soon we will be featuring the new show, Heroes Manufactured, Creators Unleashed, which is coming out this summer. 6 episodes, guys. So definitely check that out. It's like a mini series, first season. We'll see what happens, but definitely, guys, tune in. We're gonna have a lot of these new videos coming up. And thanks again, Jeff, for everything.
Thanks for having me.
It was great having you, on the show and just sharing a little bit about Auroraman. And yeah, hope to have you down the road again on our show in the near future. All right.
You betcha.
All right.
Sounds like a plan, man.
All right. Take care, everyone.